we are basically going to start enforcing a couple tweaks to a couple things. This video is, I've had the digital TV set up throughout the building that haven't been on for a while. There's actually one in the break room that we haven't had on since the very beginning, since I set up the digital TVs. There's going to be 4 or 5 of these types of videos that'll be up. I already have a few of them done from the past, but this is going to be added to one called Employee Expectations. I have to just make the comment that this is a professional setting, and that the things that are talked about in this video are very, very basic things, but all of them are things that our HR staff and our office staff and the supervisors are dealing with on a constant basis. In fact, the very last meeting we had, I made the comment that if you can't clock out and clock in, you have to meet with me, Nathan, independently in a special meeting that I'll pay for the hour, but you have to come and talk about, and I have to show you how to use Paycom. That meeting's going to happen. I think there's about 5 or 6 people that are on that list of people that consistently forget to clock in and clock out. But there's a few other things that are very, very lacking in this group that make a lot of time and honestly a lot of money, and it really disrupts the flow of our building as a company. And so we're going to watch this video, and I'm going to mention a few of the things. It's super basic, so don't think I'm crazy by bringing this up. There's no words to it, so I'm going to let everybody read it. But this will be playing on loop in the break room, so that as a reminder to everybody what these things are. I have to turn this down because the speaker's going to be super loud. So all those things are very, very basic. I'll go over them again very quickly. There's 4 main components of basic things that you're responsible to make sure that you take care of. I'm going to go back to the slide so everybody can see it as I talk about it really quick. I want everybody to kind of see it. You need to be responsible for your own time. We talked about this in the last meeting. Clocking in and out, checking your pay stubs. We have systems, expensive systems that we pay for to make it as easy as possible for you. It actually takes a lot of work on Emily's part. It takes a lot of work on our accountant's part to actually run payroll. But we want you to have direct access to all of your times instantly. We want you to have direct access to all of your points instantly. Points has not been something that we have done a really super good job of in this company, but it's been in the handbook since I became an employee 7 years ago. Basically, if you don't know what points are, this is a new education for you. If you show up late, if you call in, if you no-show, no-call, there's points. And after so many points, we have the right, your supervisor, me, whoever, HR, to write you up. After so many write-ups, those points can become termination. Now, there's lots of reasons why we haven't done it. I'm not a huge believer in being a punishment system for our staff and for each other. I believe in trusting people that you're all adults, so we'll get it done. Fortunately, we have a culture of call-outs. We have a culture of people calling out for reasons that I don't know if they're good or bad, because they don't really communicate with us anymore. And it's cost us greatly. It's cost us in the amount of staff we have. It's cost us money. It's even cost some care. So in correlation with the other supervisors who have discussed this at length for the last few months, we are going to pull back on the rates hard on points. Every department in the company will have their points tracked through Paycom. If your points are over a certain level, your supervisor is going to talk to you. If you're over, Emily, correct me, 12, correct? If you get over 12 points, and this is standard now from now on, and I have, before everybody freaks out, I have like a little caveat here. If you're above 12 points, you are not eligible for a raise. Because technically you should be written up at 6, you should be fired at 9. So if you're at 12 and we have you here and you're working on your stuff, then when it comes time for that yearly raise, you're just not eligible for it. We'll sit down with you, we'll talk about goals, we'll do all those things, but there will be no raise that year if you're over 12 points. Now, somebody says to me, well, some of those are excusable call-outs. 12 call-outs is a lot. That is a lot of call-outs. If you have that much problems going on in your personal life that you have to call out that much, you need to look at filling out some documents to take some extended time off that won't determine your points. We'll talk about this in a minute. Keep your hands down. I might answer your question, okay? So there are things you can do to work with HR on this, but calling out excessively throughout the entire year needs to stop. You have signed an agreement with us when you were hired that you will fulfill certain shifts. We expect those shifts to be filled. Points drop off at the annual date of that point. So let's say you had a really bad December and you have a whole bunch of points that you've assessed in December. Those will not fall off until the next December. Now, because I'm coming out with this now, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm attacking them and they should be hopeless for getting a raise this year because they're so low on it. If you're over that threshold, or you are in jeopardy of being over that threshold to where you are ineligible for that raise, your supervisor will talk to you before that point about what you can do so that you can still get that raise. So let's say that you're at 12 today. They're going to sit down with you and say, look, here's the deal. Your annual's in May. We're going to have a minimum of this many points between now and May for you to be eligible. Does everybody follow me in that? But then as we move forward past where we are today, in the future, that is going to be standard practice for our company. 12 is in excess, way, far and above the amount of calls that we should be having. Does everybody understand? Did I answer the questions kind of that were asked there? I don't want this to be a burden. I don't want it to be a burden. But it's your decision when you call out for what reason. This is the only thing that we can do to hold that standard to make it worthwhile on our end. So 12 call-outs, points, is excessive. The other thing is following our policies and procedures. If you don't want to do something a certain way, if you aren't technically sound or savvy or don't understand that newfangled jumbo how to turn something on, you need to come talk to us and learn it. I don't have any more patience, everybody, for just like, well, that's not how I do it because I don't like technology. I'm sorry. I love each and one of you. I will work with you. I will get somebody to train you on it. But you have to use the systems we have in place. We are a professional building. I can't just have people doing this and everybody else doing that anymore. And there's not a lot of that going on, but if you're in that boat on one thing, you need to come get training. Again, I'm not going to go throwing you out and yelling at you and screaming at you, but I need you to be teachable enough to come and say, show me how to do this. I don't know how to do it. Olympus is a huge one in that. Okay, I know Olympus is a system that we're not used to because it's not something we use every single day, but it's our system, and it's the system that Maple Springs has us using. And if you don't know how to use it or log on to it or get into it, we will show you how to do it, but you have to learn for yourself how to get into Olympus, how to get into Paycom, how to do all those things so that you can take care of yourself. And then we need to have a lot better respect for company resources. Someone in this building, and I didn't do anything about it, ripped one of our doors off the hinges. It was in an employee-only area. Door was ripped off the hinges. We had somebody else from this company take an IED, an AED, excuse me, not an IED. I got scary quick. Took an AED and discharged it for no reason. Just literally just burnt up, the pads on a machine that we use for safety for no reason. And it was an employee area. It wasn't something that somebody else could have done. There's areas that are used by staff members that aren't used by residents commonly that are constantly being trashed. I'm finding cups and things in the stairwells when I'm coming in on the weekends. The upstairs that's used, I know by more staff than anybody else, is constantly dirty. And then the big one is the devices. I have kicked and screamed and fought on both ends of not wanting to spend the money, and on the other side of making sure that we have enough. Laura and the office staff and Lindsay have worked so hard to make sure that we have all the devices. When you take that thing home and say, oops, I forgot, and you don't make an attempt to bring it back, it's actually affecting everybody in the building. And I'm going to just tell the story really quick. I'm getting a little bit long-winded on this thing. I'm trying to drive home the point. There was a point where we didn't have radios, okay? And I had a meeting like this, and some of the staff were mad at me and said, Nathan, we have to have those radios. It is unsafe for us to have those radios. And I went into my office and I had people chew my butt out. Nathan, we have to have a system of communication. So then I went and I spent a whole bunch of money on those little relay deals. And guess what? After 2 years since we've had those things, there's people that still don't wear one. So we've gone from, Nathan, if we don't have them, people are actually going to get injured, to I'm just not going to wear that thing, or I don't really care, or I'm going to stick it in my pocket, take it home, and I'm just going to forget about it because I don't want to drive back to Maple. I need us to be better on that stuff. We have the phones that we have the call-out system on for our healthcare, for our care staff. When we see, so we sit down every single stand-up and we go over the times of when the call-outs are pushed. And Sarah has to report every single day to me on the times. And it's crazy that the walk-in push button on the wall is within 30 seconds, but that the light on the system on the phones is going off for 3 hours. That means that everybody in the building during that 3 hours saw that light go off and nobody clicked on it. I don't understand those things. I'm trying to be nice, I'm trying to be kind, but those things I just don't understand. If everybody has access to that system and everybody's seen that light go off, but we actually did our job and talked to the resident within 30 seconds, why are we not just everybody working together? I hear all the time, nobody's willing to help me on such and such hallway when I need help. That's why we have the relays. That's why we have the relays. But if you don't have a relay and you're not picking it up, it's impossible for us to do anything. I'm begging, I'm pleading, I'm starting to get a little cranky about it. We need to respect and understand these things. I need everybody to do it, because I don't want to get into a position, you guys, where my next meeting is I start to do more and more of this corrective action, like more policing, like all that. And it's honestly, my reaction as an administrator is going to determine how you as staff members react to this type of thing. Because there's certain things that we have to be able to do. So if we continue to go further down this road of people being neglectful with the company equipment, I'm going to start signing it out and charging it on your pay. Like, I don't know what else to do, and I don't want to do that stuff. Like, take care of the stuff. Let's just all work together on it. You're all adults. I trust you. I care about you. I don't want to go that route. So I'm pleading with all of you to understand where I'm coming from on this end and for us to move forward on it. So if you have any questions, again, this is a super basic little presentation. It took me 10 minutes to make. It's not that big of a deal, and I don't want to make it a big deal, but it's going to constantly be playing. If anybody fits into these things where it's like, I need to do better, then just make a self-commitment and say, I'm going to do better and let's move forward. But just being belligerent and being like, that's not my deal, I don't care, they can come after me if they want, it's going to happen. It's not going to be happy, and it's just kind of a waste of time on our part and on yours. So with all of that very happy stuff, I'm going to let Laura give something else away. Here we go.
Yay, okay, the next person is number 56, which is Mason from the kitchen. Mason. Oh, Mason.
He goes, oh me.
Oh, me.
That was way faster than I thought it was going to be.
Good job, Mason.
All right. So you get more Nathan talking. This is a lot more boring than the last one. I'm not going to try that, whatever that is. There it is.
Really wants to do.
What in the world? I don't know why it says that I need to rehearse, but we're going to move forward. One of the mandatory trainings that we have to do every single year is on HIPAA. The Health Information Portability and Accountability Act. It's something that if you're any part of healthcare, when you go through your schooling, you have to take a day on it and you have to take a test. Every time you go to the doctors now, they have you fill out 1,000 pieces of paper. One of those, you're signing off on this. We talked about it twice a year since I've opened this building. It's important stuff. I know it gets repetitive, so if you understand this stuff, then just shake your head up and down and listen to me for the next 10 minutes. If you don't understand, then please listen intently because it's really important. But I will try to make it not so boring as humanly possible, but there are certain things that are really important for us to understand. So the first thing is what are we going to be talking about today? So here's the quote by Edwin Lewis Cole. Confidentiality is a virtue of a loyalty as the virtue of faithfulness. So we need to educate ourselves on the legal and ethical responsibilities regarding HIPAA. So why does it matter? Because we need to protect the residents' dignity, number one. Then we need to prevent legal and financial penalties, and we need to build trust with residents and families. We live in a world where all of our information is all over the place, but our health information is the most, I would say, personal than anything else if you think about it. If you, like, would you want to put, like, your blood pressure on Facebook? Or would you want to put your weight on Instagram? I don't think any of us I don't want to do that. I mean, I'm not slim, so that would be kind of embarrassing, right? So if you think about it, anytime we put people's personal health information out there as a health facility, we are divulging that to a crowd and to large amounts of people. It's important that we make sure that we protect that as much as possible. And I will say that the financial and the penalties, that's the least of my worries. I've never had to go through something like that before, and so I don't want to make that the priority here. That's more of just a warning of what will happen if we mess up these laws, okay? So what is HIPAA? It was enacted in 1996 to protect patient privacy. It ensures that PHI, you'll see that throughout the presentation, or protected health information is handled securely, and it applies to all employees of this facility. In fact, it applies to everybody who touches healthcare information at all. So whether it's a pharmacy, doctor's office, skilled nursing facility, doesn't matter. The HIPAA hits all of those, but for us it's for a skilled nursing facility. So what is HIPAA regulations? So I have the details in there of the different laws and statutes, but there's a privacy rule to it, there's a security rule to it, and then there's a breach notification rule. So the privacy rule outlines for us as facilities how we're supposed to and what we're supposed to keep private. So that's by making sure that we have secure systems in place, that we train our staff on educating them on what the type of information needs to be kept protected, and how we divulge information to people who need it. There are certain people that can call this building any day or any time, day or night, and we have to give them information. If judges from the state of Alaska call and want room 112's blood pressures from yesterday morning, we give them to them without any papers signed because they're on the list for HIPAA that we can give information to. Troopers are another one. There are certain people that we can give information to. Now, I've never had a judge or a trooper call me and ask me for a blood pressure, but that's the way the laws are set. So just so everybody understands, there are groups of people that have access to it without having to have stuff in place. If you're not on that special list, which the list is very short, the only way we can give out information based on the privacy rule is having a signed document from the person who is legally responsible for that individual. So if I'm responsible for myself, Nathan Dahl, I can only get information for myself unless I sign a paper saying that I allow Emily Polensky to get my information. So if Emily Polensky calls my doctor and says, I need to know Nathan's blood pressure, if that paper is not on file, we don't give that information. We don't give it over the phone, we don't give it in writing, we don't send an email, we don't text them, we don't do any of those things unless we have that paper on file that says that they're allowed to do that. Everybody kind of follow me on that? Okay, so then the security rule, how do we secure the documents? Any online digital information needs to be password protected and actually has to be tested. We use in our building the system of doing an online or a cloud-based EMR charting system, which is point, click, care. Point, click, care. Point, click, care. Excuse me. You're all just going to walk out on me at some point, aren't you? So because it's online, we pay them to test themselves. If we had an in-house system with an in-house network that I had an IT dude walking around or gal walking around making sure the system works, we'd all have to do testing. But because we use point, click, care, they do the testing for us to make sure that it's all secure and taken care of. That's part of the rule. There is other types of information, though, we're going to talk about in a second, we have to keep secure. We print a piece of paper off, it's then our responsibility to keep that secure. Verbal information, it's our responsibility to make sure it's not within earshot of anybody else. We can't be divulging information verbally if someone's around us. Did everybody follow me on that? We can't have papers just floating around the building that have stuff on them and us not have control of those. So there's a few different things that can happen on that stuff right there. And then the breach notification rule says that if there has been a HIPAA violation, that it's the responsibility of everybody that has found the violation to report that violation. So that's the breach notification rule. Similar to like an adult protective services responsibility, like if you saw like harm come to an adult or a child, that as a mandatory reporter, you're responsible to report that to APS or Child Protective Services or whoever, if there's abuse or neglect or whatever. There's a very similar words on this, on the HIPAA law that says we are all mandatory reporters of health information if there's been a breach. The most common ways that people get reported for breaches of health information aren't, accidentally having someone down the hallway hear that so-and-so is going to the hospital. That is a HIPAA violation. That's not usually what's reported. That's something that's kind of worked on in-house. What's usually reported is like Nathan, the administrator, gets a call from pharmaceutical A company. They call me up and say, we'll give you $10,000 to give us all your patient charts that use this drug. And I say, sounds great, I need the cash. That's where fines and stuff come in place. So be aware that like selling information or using information for any type of testing or studies without the residents or the patients sign off, that's where those big fines come in. But still, if we had a huge problem in this building of just talking to everybody in the world about all the stuff that goes on around here, we would get fined too. So I'm not saying that that's the only way, but generally that's the way that people get in trouble with this process. All right, so what is PHI? That's kind of the big thing. Everybody needs to understand what it is. So there's 4 different types of PHI, which is the electronic health information, what is on our screens when we're looking on them, point-click care. Tiger Text has PHI on it, correct? The dietary system, if it says that they have, minced and moist diet, that is their PHI. That's their medical information, that they have that order for them there. Therapy has elations, all that is PHI. So anything on those systems is protected. That means those little slips, dietary, goes around, it says minced and moist in a certain color on top of it, that gets laid around. We're actually breaking HIPAA by letting that thing just fly out in the open. We got to take better care of that stuff. The next one is print, which I just talked about, printed or written health information. When Lindsay Christensen, our corporate quality nurse, came into town, she found 2 different times where she walked onto a hallway, I'm really struggling, hallway, and she saw sheets that were turned face up with nobody around them that had PHI on them, which means that would be a HIPAA violation right there. Anybody could walk up, look down, that was room 207's chart. They could read through it no matter what. We have PHI in a place in every single resident's bedroom inside the closet door. Why do we keep it there? So that our CNAs and our nurses and our therapists have quick access to that information. But that means we gotta keep those doors shut when you're not in the room. Now a resident can get in there, yes, and so we're making an attempt and to keep that secretive. So if somebody goes there and opens that door, that's not us not protecting it, because we all know where it's at, it's easily accessible. But if we had it on the wall next to the bed, which families constantly ask me to do, that is not acceptable. Anybody can walk in and see that right there. Does anybody see the difference between that? So please understand, like the hospital, for instance, having whiteboards, I'm not accusing them of anything, but that's PHI. So they would have to control how people go into the room, that they have access to that information. Now, cultural and ease of use and all sorts of stuff play into that, but I'm just telling you, that's the letter of the law, and that's kind of how it fits, and that's why I don't like things on the wall unless we really, really have to. Verbal health information, biggest one I see all the time, and I try to teach. You're having your hallway end of shift report, and you're having it in front of 2 residents sitting in wheelchairs. You can't do it. We got to move. We got to ask them to go somewhere else. And they love to sit there and listen. We used to have this congregation of people down the main nurses station right next to the dining room. There'd be residents just sitting there hanging out, listening to all this stuff. And funny enough, those residents would come tell me about the problems in the building because they love to just get everything all stirred up. You see what I'm saying? So they shouldn't know stuff. We talked about this in our last meeting too. A resident in one part of the building passes away. We don't broadcast it throughout the entire building because it's really not everybody's responsibility to know that one resident passed in the entire building. Now, is it going to get around? Probably. But if anybody comes and gets mad at me and says, why didn't you tell me that so-and-so passed away? That's not your right to know that information. I'm so sorry. I know you're close to them. I know you care about them, but that's not how that works. It's the family's responsibility or their right to tell us or tell other people what's going on. Then the last one, photographs of any kind. Love my nurses. They like to look at gross things. We shouldn't be passing around gross pictures or other pictures around. That's again, it's PHI. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, nurses, but you guys are disgusting. I'm going to move past that one because you don't know what I'm talking about. The next one, so here, let's talk about, and I kind of went over this, resident charts, medication lists, care plans being left unattended. Good example, discussions about the resident's conditions in public areas, emails, photos, or social media posts with resident details. I have gotten dinged on that. I'll be honest. A lot of you know I have these small ALs. Had a staff member taking selfies with residents. Intentions were honest and pure. They love these residents. We grow to love them. They want to take pictures with these people they care about and put it up on their Facebook page. Well, I mean, I'm not kidding. Some people saw those. This was a long time ago, like years ago. Some people saw that. I had a call from the ombudsman and the state licensing people in about 4 seconds. Literally, get those down now. That is not, unless you have a signed paper from that resident saying that that staff put that picture, you get it down now. Literally happened to me, I'm not joking. So, our social media pages are our personal portals into the world. We don't have the right to put stuff on them. When Mandy and the activity staff post stuff on the Facebook page, every resident signs a paper, and I'm not joking. Like, that is absolutely something that happens, and we try to be very careful on how we do that. That they are not marketing tools for us. We try to post things on there that the community would love to see, so that they can see how much fun they're having. We don't do it. I don't put big banners up about how well this person did to try to sell, rooms. That's not what we're using those pictures for, just so everybody understands. And if you have any questions on what HIPAA is or examples of HIPAA, you can always come talk to me, and I'll definitely, we can have a great conversation about HIPAA. It's going to be really exciting and fun, okay? So real world HIPAA violations, we kind of just went through this. I won't go through it again, but again, having big discussions about resident information in public. The one that's really, really difficult is you'll have a whole family, and they're in a room, and they ask for the nurse to come in. And the nurse doesn't know all the information. And so that nurse has to call another nurse down, and they have this huge family discussion. It's really hard if the resident's not there, who's actually the person who's responsible for their own decision to have that information. It gets pretty tricky if you really think about it. I'll use my dad as an example. If me and my brothers and sisters wanted to have a discussion with my dad's doctor about his health, that doctor really shouldn't talk to us unless my dad signs off on it. Now, I don't want us to get super cranky with stuff and tell people we're not going to give you information, but if it seems like that resident doesn't want that information out and you don't want to be the bad guy, I can be the bad guy. Okay? Call me, middle of the night, middle of the afternoon. Nathan, you got to get over here. This resident A has said he really doesn't want to give his information to these 3 people. They're in here asking questions. I want you to take care of this. I would be happy to have them yell at me. I'm fine with that. But it's important that you help me protect that information, not give it out. Okay, you can nicely also say, you know what, I think we need to have him in the room to have this conversation, so that he's okay with it. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. I will totally step in front of that. Let's all work together to make sure that residents' wishes and rights are protected from us, because it's that important. I hope someday somebody protects my personal information. So that's why I want to do a good job now, so that someday somebody else can protect mine also. Not shredding documents, just throwing them in the trash. That can be, if somebody found those and used those, we could be fined for that. And then unauthorized snooping. This is a big one that we don't really talk about a lot. Unauthorized snooping would be me, Nathan, who has access to all the skilled nursing facilities that Maple owns, their records, because I do a lot of oversight on them sometimes. So if Jesse's sick or goes south, I have access to his point-click care, so that if he's like, hey, I'm going on vacation, will you watch my building? And somebody calls me, I can jump on there and answer a question. There's nothing wrong with that. But if I'm like, hey, I want to go see what's going on in their building, and I just start looking at everybody's records to see if there's any drama going on, because I think it's fun to read, that's not okay for me to do that. And so please understand that you have access, for those that have access to records, to a lot of information. Don't go snooping around. There's no reason to go digging. And to be honest, all that stuff is tracked. So if you are, and there is something that pops up, we're going to be able to see it, and then it's going to be problematic. So just don't go snooping. It's not a good thing. So the next thing is preventing HIPAA violations. So we need to follow the minimum necessary rule. So what that means is that we should always give and take the minimum amount of health information that we need, so that we're not expanding upon it more than we have to and having to protect more than we should. Now, we do a lot of health information in this building because we do so much care, but that doesn't mean we need to get more and more and more. Sometimes doctors like to give us entire packets of their entire files so that we can keep record of them. We probably need to be a little more, selective of what we need to accept and what we don't to put into our system. So let's always try to have in mind, let's take what we need, but we don't need anything extra, and let's always give what we basically need to give them for what they need, and not give them everything also. Keep things locked up. We have lock screens. I was working on a laptop yesterday. Went to the hallway to put a new mouse on it. It was amazing. It was perfect. I seriously was so happy. I'm like, I'm gonna use that in the training. Opened the screen up and it said locked, which means the nurse did exactly what she was supposed to. She walked away from that med cart and she made sure that all the information she was just working on was not there, so I couldn't access it. So for that nurse, well done, thumbs up. I'll have a candy bar for you later wherever you're at, okay? And then avoid public discussions. We've brought that up 4 times now. I won't bring it up again. And then you need to report any concerns to the privacy officer. I am considered the privacy officer. So much like on the ethics discussion we had last month, this month I am the guy that you would come to if there's a HIPAA violation. And there's a report I have to fill out. I have to send it to 2 different state agencies, and I have to send it to corporate. Now, and at the end there's a screenshot here that you can look at if you want. But if you think I'm selling information and you don't think I'm going to take care of the problem effectively, there's another person above me that you can go to. Her name's Gia Haycock. She's the administrative person for the company. She's like underneath the owners. She would take care of it in a separate investigation if that needs to take place. So you have 2 different numbers if you need to report any of this out. If you want to go directly to her, you can too. I don't really care. She'll just call me and we'll work on it together. Key takeaways. HIPAA applies to everyone, all employees. File must be protected, spoken, written, electronic. Think before you speak, make sure that you keep things private, and report all violations. Those are the 4 big ones. So I appreciate everybody trying to protect this information. Last quote here, privacy is not an option. It shouldn't be the price we accept for just getting on the internet. So we need to do a better job with that. And then here's that information. If you want my email, phone number, or else Gia's email's there. She's also kind of our HR person, so I think, is her phone number in the break room in case they ever have to get a hold of her? She's kind of the corporate, if you have to report and you don't want to report to me or to Emily, she's kind of the one you guys go to. And I'll tell that on every single meeting so everybody knows it, so that there's never a question or you guys thinking that we're trying not to give you that number. So, is it Ethan on HR? So it's Gia on the other 2, on the ethics and compliance, and then on this stuff with HIPAA, and then it's Ethan on HR. Thank you, Emily. So is there any questions about that before I move on from our extremely exciting training on HIPAA? I think you guys love hearing as much as I love giving it. So, all right, let's do another giveaway. You ready?
Yeah. Okay, the next giveaway, the next door prize is number 24, 9-Up Lakeman. Do you want to do another, or do you have to wait?
I think we do 2 now, yes.
Okay, 2 now. The next one is number 66, Yvette Larson.
Yes.
There she is.
All right, thank you, Laura. All right, so moving forward, we're going to talk about a new concept. I'm so sorry for that stupid thing. I don't know how to get it off, so you're welcome. Everybody can see I'm wearing this really cool shirt. It says Maple Springs on the front. They're in like an army green color, which I think is cool, and then this one, and on the back it has that logo. It says, it's a good day every day. Good day every day. This started with our nurses last month. We, between the supervisors of this building and myself, we looked last year, that started back in October, of what we can do to get the start of the year kicked off in a new direction, trying to get us moving forward. So the nurses have all started. They have a whole new process they've been working on. From what I hear, it's going extremely well. We still have some people that are trying to get it going in their systems. Sometimes hard to get kind of out of old ruts. But generally what they're doing is they're having daily huddles on every single hallway between the CNAs and the nurses to make sure that they have good communication. It's pretty basic. It honestly doesn't take very long. They have a similar sheet that we have for stand-up for the building, where they're tracking their daily notes based on those meetings, so that we have kind of a historical record, so that if you work on a Monday and you want to see what happened on Friday, that nurse can go back and look at it. It's supposed to be helpful to them, and I think it's working pretty well. I want to add another component, this one not to the nursing and care staff, this one to the rest of the building, of Good Day Every Day, and explain that before I kind of bring up this new thing I want to do, and it's not really new, it's something we've done before, but we just haven't done it for a while, is the reason why we want to have this concept of Good Day Every Day is because, you know, sometimes we get, and I used the word just a minute ago, but rutted into our systems, right? We show up to work, we go home from work, we go to bed, we show up to work, we go home from work, we have our days off. But we're all in this for a lot of different reasons. One is to make our mortgages, one is to take care of our families. Some of us buy baseball cards. I don't know what your purpose is for working, right? But the other part is because we all care about the residents and we care about the people that we're here for. Everybody in this room is here for the people also. Yes, we're here to have a living and have careers, but we all care about the individuals we're caring for. And so as part of our focus as a building and as a leadership and management of this building, we want you to have a good day every day when you show up. So we're trying to do things like nurses' communication with CNAs better, but we also want to make sure that the residents have a better day every day too. A lot of our residents are stuck in a low gear. They like to sit in their rooms, they like to sleep a lot, they like to watch TV. Our activities department works extremely hard to get good activities going. They have very few people there. Our dining room is basically empty. It's basically empty. This building wasn't designed to be a 5-star hotel. It looks like one. We have the services that we can provide to have a 5-star hotel, but we are a nursing home that focuses on rehabilitation. Our therapy department is outstanding, best in the state, 100%. Our wound team is the best in the state by far. We have the very, very best here, and unfortunately, not because we don't work hard, but our residents are in this mode now, because we've kind of allowed it, where they just like to sit around and not do anything. So we're going to change that, and we're all going to do it together. Again, this doesn't have to do with nursing or CNAs very much, maybe a little tiny bit. But there was a concept that we came up with a few years ago called All Hands on Deck. So the way All Hands on Deck works is all of us have our daily tasks and duties. And this includes therapy, this includes the office, the kitchen, the activities, housekeeping, maintenance, everybody but CNAs and nurses. And what happens is when it's time for a meal, somebody in the building is going to be responsible to call hands on deck. Okay, so all hands on deck is called. It'll be over the radio. It'll be over GroupMe. However we send it out, basically every department will hear it. And everybody who's not actively in a task that they cannot step away from. And that would mean like you're getting a training done, you're like meeting with a family, you're actually physically helping a resident at that time, you're doing a task that like requires something like I wouldn't pull a cook off the line for this in the middle of them cooking breakfast. But everybody else that can needs to go to that area, so all hands on deck in the dining room, and we will meet. There'll be 10 of us, and we will break up into groups and we'll go down the hallways and try to get residents to go to that meal. So we'll do it for lunch, we'll do it for dinner for who's in the building, we'll do it for activities, and it's really to try to help to get the residents moving. Now let's say I go into room, making up numbers here, H05, and say, hey, let's go to activities today. They're getting all drunk in there. Let's all go get drunk together, right? That's what activities like to do. They like to drink. And they're like, I don't want to get drunk today. I want to get drunk tomorrow. Well, I'm probably not going to go into H5 the next day. I'm going to send somebody else in until we can find somebody that H5 will listen to, so that H5 will start coming to activities. Everybody follows me on this. I don't want to force anybody. I don't want to guilt them. But I want us to be so consistent with getting people moving that they start to want to go to the things. Because here's the key of what's going to happen. Once they start going to that dining room, once they start going to activities, their energy levels will come up, the care from our nurses and CNAs will actually go down, their health outcomes will be better, they will feel better, they're going to have a lot more fun, the energy in this building will go up. Therapy is going to have an easier time getting them to do stuff. So I'm going to need everybody to be committed to all hands on deck when it's called and pushed out there. And the first people that'll come jump up and go running is going to be office. So we're not just sitting down over here and just saying, hey, I hope you guys all figure this stuff out. So please know that if you hear all hands on deck, if you're not doing anything, please help. Now CNAs, I understand you got to be on the hallways, but if we have an extra one and there's 2 people watching call lights, I expect the one that's not watching call lights to come and do all hands on deck with us. Okay, nurses, I really don't want to go do all hands on deck unless it's like the charge doesn't have anything going on that second, which they always do. But everybody else I kind of expect to be there. So that's gonna be our focus as a group until the next all staff of this good day every day concept. There's a T-shirt for everybody. So before you leave today, Laura has a whole system set up. How do you want them to line up for it?
Just line up and we'll point you.
Just line up and she'll point you. She'll just be like, you, over there. Just like that. But everybody gets a T-shirt. We have
And
keychains. Stickers. We have keychains or no keychains?
No keychains.
No keychains. We just have stickers. I'm sorry, I was mistaken. Stickers and T-shirts are coming for this stuff, and we're going to continue this throughout the year and a lot of these different things to try to increase the building's energy and to get the residents moving. That's really what it's about. It's about the residents, and I want everybody here. I know this is cheesy admin talk. I want everybody to go home and have a good day when they're working here. I want every single one of you to be like, that was a good day. One of my favorite employees told me once, this is the first I've ever had where I didn't go home and cry every night. Okay? And that could be true for some of you too. And I want everybody to feel that way because I know there are some people that go home and cry right now. So I want you to be happy being here because I think if you're happy, I think the residents will be happy too. So with that, that's my spiel on that. Let's see, we have one more of those, so we're not going to do that. We are going to do our, and I left it, we're going to do our Employee of the Month to start, and then I'll do call-outs because I left the paper in my office. So let me do Employee of the Month first. So we're going to turn on the movie here. And